two series of inputs, one that comes from the gun and one that comes from the Zcam. And the gun here actually has a series of buttons, and when you press a button, it goes into this board, which is actually a modified keyboard. We took the guts out of a keyboard, and so every time you press a different button, it's the equivalent of tapping on the keys. And these keys actually go through this wire directly into the game. So when you're actually running in Crisis, it'll actually just be like you were pressing on a keyboard, except that we've modified it so that it goes through these buttons. The other source of input comes from the Zcam. And the Zcam goes into this machine, separate machine, which actually is what we are running Francis's code on. And you take the code from that machine, and it recognizes gestures which activate the different fidgets. Each one of these is a relay or switch that can be used for anything. And this relay does two things. It sends those gesture information, or the switches the physical stuff on the treadmill, so that you can change the speeds on the treadmill whenever you recognize the gesture. And the same set of switches also runs to the keyboard. So if you press run, for example, it'll turn the keyboard or the treadmill speed to high, but it'll also connect through the keyboard and also make you run in the game at the same time. And this set of relays also does additional commands, like punch, for example. And again, this relay feeds all into the keyboard, again driving commands inside the game. And the last piece is this wire here, where you actually connect to the wireless head mouse. And so we've got a connection here which allows you to switch on and off this mouse, and it allows you to kind of recalibrate or reorient when you're turning around, for example. And then the very last thing is that on the trigger here, we've got a safety. So you can actually, in case you want to save somebody virtually from accidental shooting, you can use the real life switch. So if you want to go completely wireless, you can drop the gun, and wearing only the head mouse, you can actually turn, and then so you'll be running, and the Zcam will actually know how you're running and convert that into gestures. But if you want to reorient yourself, we've got this switch, so that you just would wear that in your arm through your sleeve and be able to turn the head mouse on and off. That we have. So I'm going to actually change some of the defaults too. The left-right threshold I'm going to put at 25. The punch threshold will be 50, a jump threshold of 12, and this walking threshold of 20. So as soon as I hit enter, I'm going to need to jump up and start calibrating. So I'm going to get ready here. Okay. Okay. So I am at walking speed because I'm in the center of the treadmill, and as I step forward, you can see that I move to running. If I step back, it goes back to walking, and if I step back further still, it knows that I'm stopped. So I'm going to try going to walking speed. I don't know if it'll recognize the punch, but I'm going to give it a try.
Yeah, there it is.
There's the punch. It's scrolling by really fast. There's another punch. And actually, if you come around, you can show it on Crisis at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Too. Sorry to make you move. But
no, I should have been.
So here we go. There's my punch. Actually, it turns into, because I'm wielding a gun, I'm actually kicking with my gun butt instead of punching. And I think I can fire with two hands at once. Yeah. And you can actually see it on the screen. It knows that I'm firing. And so I guess we can go back to this screen. Oh, you got it there. What else can I do? I think leaning might work. Let's give that a try. So you see I'm leaning to the side on one side. I think it's leaning to the other side now. Perfect. It's working well.
Yeah.
And what have we not done? Jump. Hey, I just jumped.
Woohoo.
You can see the jump as a little break in the do
that again, and I'll get that.
There's the jump.
There it is. Alright.
And you can hear the clicks going too whenever I jump as well.
Okay, do that again, I'll get it on this.
Everything works.
Yes,
it's
it
awesome.
does.
And I'm just going to shoot into the air.
Let me
Hooray, victory.
Let me get your arms.
Oh, sorry. One hand goes to kicking, or the punching instead. Punching with the other hand. No punching. Oh, sorry, lost my hands, that's why. So I'm stopped now. So, can you actually read the words, do you think, when on the screen?
Let me do that next. Okay.
Whoops.
This, okay.
So it shows me walking. I step back. And it says staying. I go forward. It says it knows I'm walking. I go a little bit more forward and it knows I'm running. Now I'm going to put my hands out. It's shooting, I think it says. One hand. Oh, one hand is punching. Other hand is punching. I think we've done all the gestures.
You know what? Can
Tilting. Example of Francis's program in action. So I've already done the configuration. Here's where you can see the different commands are appearing in words. And you'll hear clicks as well. They're actually activating a lot of the relays that we've got running. Here's a view of me. This is the 3D kind of depth pixels, so you can actually see what I'm doing at the same time. And then in the background is Crisis running. I actually don't have the head motion on, so you can't actually turn around. But it'll give you an idea of what's going on a little bit. So you can see all three at the same time. So first of all, I'm in the center of the treadmill. So I'm actually doing walking. You can see walking is scrolling up the screen. And so if I step forward, you can see that it moves to running. It knows that I'm now running. And if I step back really far, then it says I'm staying. So that's the 3 walking speeds. You can go from walking to running to walking to staying again. And as well, you can turn from side to side. So when I move to the side, you can see that I'm moving, it says to the right, it's from the camera's perspective. I move to the left, the same thing happens, it's from the camera's perspective again. And what else have I got? Jumping. You can actually, there you saw the jump. And actually you can see it in Crisis as well. That's actually the best thing you can probably see is jumping. I have to make sure I jump high enough to do that correctly, but there it is. You can jump over and over again. Then the hands, both hands together, shoots. One hand, punch. And actually it punches with the butt of the gun because I'm holding a gun right now. Same thing if I use the other hand. Whoops. So I'll stop. Both hands are shooting. One hand punch. Another hand punch. And I think I've got it all. Lean. Lean. And I think I've got it all. So I'll just I think I might be able to do a running jump. Let's see if I can or I'll do a walking jump at the same time. So walking. Yeah, and I'm walking at the same time that I'm jumping. So you can actually do multiple moves. I don't know if I can shoot as well. We'll try that. But hey, there we go. Shooting, running, and walking at the
Let's
same
do
time.
a close-up of all those moves so they can see you in the figurine.
Whoops. So this is the skeleton tracking of the live real-time feeds. And so I'm just going to show first how you can back up. I can move my hands while I'm backing up. And then at a certain point it starts to fade out. It gets lost right around here. But then if I come back in, it finds me again. You can do some tracking and dodging. It's pretty good. You can move quite quickly. And it starts to lose if you block things a little bit, but it's pretty good otherwise. Okay, I'm walking. Now I'm standing. I'm walking. Now I'm running. Walking. Running. Stop.
Now try it
So
for
much
real.
fun there.
Try it for real, chicken.
You know what? Do you mind if I do?
No.
Awesome. Be careful of that one. So this is a little bit of a view of our setup. Randy has created a nifty wraparound screen, so if I'm standing in the middle of it here, you can see that it, well, actually it's hard to see in the camera, but you can see through the bottom that it's bowed. And so when you're standing right in the middle of the treadmill, all you can see is screen. So it's actually a really good effect for the person. You feel like you're right in the middle of it because it pretty much surrounds you on all sides. There's a view of the top of it. And so we placed the Zcam in the middle to get a better view of the person. We never did try it from the side, but I think that works out pretty good. It's a lot easier for our calculations that way. And here's a look at the treadmill. These are the wires that we did a demo of earlier, and they go up to the 2 computers that we have. And there's our monitors that we can use for configuring things on the side if we need to, setting up the game. And then so the wires come out and they control this device here. This is what Randy has created to be able to shift the speed of the treadmill from walk to run if necessary. And there's a motor on there. We burned out a couple of those today, but now we have less of a battery and it seems to be holding. There's the treadmill itself, and there's the belt that Stuart gets in. And just to look at the belt, you can rotate it. It's on bearings, so you can completely spin around if necessary, and it goes into 2 pulleys on the top that keep you centered square in the middle. Does a good job of that. And there is the air balancer. So the wires go down, they come along the pole into the air balancer, and that kind of maintains a constant tug on you so that you don't fall, and it compensates if you tip over. And then we've got that hooked up to an air compressor in the back. So Stuart is all decked out, and this time he has a gun. You want to hold up your gun a little so I can see it? So that's the gun, and it is actually a wired gun. We've got some buttons going down to it, but most of the setup we're still using the Zcam for distance and running and jumping.